They say the age of knights ended long ago. But somewhere, far beyond the ruins, beneath the mist of forgotten valleys, one still breathes. His armor no longer shines, his sword no longer cuts, yet his heart still carries the weight of vows sworn under fading stars. This is not a tale of war, but of remembrance. Of a man who learned that true strength is not found in steel, but in mercy. So close your eyes. Let the sound of the wind guide you. Tonight, we travel back to the last night of the last night of dawn. The night was deep and slow, like the breath of the earth itself. A single candle burned in the tower, its flame trembling against the stone walls. The old knight sat alone by the window, his armor stacked neatly beside him, gathering dust like ancient memory. Outside, the forest whispered through the cold wind, carrying with it the scent of rain and ashes. He watched the sky, the same sky that once echoed with horns of battle. Now, only silence remained, the kind of silence that hums softly in the chest. He ran his hand across the blade that had served him half a lifetime. Once, it gleamed with glory. Now, it reflected nothing, not even his tired eyes. Strange, he murmured, voice low and tender, how a man can outlive his own legend. He closed his eyes, and the world around him began to dissolve, turning into memories, smoke, and distant drum. He remembered the field of dawn, a sea of red banners rising against the sun. The clash of metal. The cries of men. The thunder of horses breaking through fog thick as grief. He had been young then. Proud. Fearless. His blade had sung songs of victory, and his name had been shouted like prayer. But war has no favorites. By the third day, the songs had turned to screams. By the seventh, only the wind carried names of the fallen. There was one battle he could never forget. The day the city of Orendale burned. Flames climbed the cathedral towers, painting the heavens orange. Children ran through streets of smoke. He had orders to push forward, no mercy, no prisoners. Yet there was a boy. A small boy, clutching a wooden toy sword, eyes filled with terror. He had raised his blade. And in that moment, something inside him broke. He dropped his sword. He carried the child away instead. From that day, the war ended for him, though it raged on for many years. I thought I fought for honor, he whispered, but I only found it when I stopped fighting. Years turned into silence. The old knight wandered from kingdom to kingdom, never staying, never resting. He repaired broken bridges, rebuilt ruined chapels, planted trees where bodies once lay. No one knew his name. No one asked. They only called him the Gray Wanderer. Sometimes he would pass a family laughing around a fire, and a small smile would form beneath his weary beard. He began to write letters to no one. Folded pages he would leave in places once scarred by war. Each letter began the same way. To whoever lives here now, forgive us. We did not know what peace was worth. In the quiet, he began to hear the world breathe again. Rain fell softer. Rivers sang gentler songs. And every morning, the birds returned, as if to tell him, "The world is healing, because you stayed." The night's hair had turned silver. His hands shook when he tried to lift his sword. He knew the end was near, yet he felt no fear. He rode his horse to the Valley of Dawn, the place where the first light touched the earth each morning. There, he saw a young boy training with a wooden sword, the same way he once did. The boy looked up. "Mister, were you a knight?" The old man smiled faintly. "Once. Long ago." "Can you teach me?" He took a deep breath, the cold air filling his chest one last time. He drew the rusted sword from its sheath, knelt before the boy, and said softly, "This blade was meant for battle, but I learned it serves better in peace. Keep it, not to kill, but to protect. Promise me that you'll fight only when you must, and forgive whenever you can." The boy nodded, eyes wide with wonder. As the sun rose, its light covered the valley in gold. The night felt warmth spreading through his bones. He closed his eyes and smiled. "Perhaps," he whispered, "the dawn no longer needs a night." The wind moved through the valley like a final hymn. His sword fell to the grass, and the world kept breathing, softer, freer. Many years later, travelers would pass through that same valley. They would see a tree, tall and strong, growing beside a rusted sword half buried in the roots. Children played around it, chasing the morning light. No one remembered his name, but they remembered his kindness. And when the sun rose just right, it would glint off the blade, and for a brief, golden moment, it looked as though the last night was bowing to the dawn once more. Sleep now, traveler, for even in silence, courage lives on. And somewhere, far beyond the edge of night, humanity still shines. Dawn a tea, forget, like, subscribe, and share. Good night.